Moving to our chapter, Diversity in Living Organisms. What is the meaning of unique? If we say that each organism or every organism in this living world, whether an animal or a plant, may be a microorganism, is unique in itself. This uniqueness, or basically a simple design or body features, will tell us about the diversity in various life forms, means how many different unique organisms are there in this world. And this diversity simply means variety. Thus, the first one which comes here as a definition is biodiversity. Biodiversity means the different forms of living organisms or a variety of life found in a particular region. Now, for this, let's do a very simple example. Compare yourself with your friend. Both of you have different looks, different height, different qualities. So, different looks, height, and qualities. You both are identified on the basis of certain features. Clear? Now compare ourselves and our friends with a monkey. This is one step. On a second step, I am adding a monkey. Monkey is quite different from us because we and our friend, we have very close similarities. And the distinction becomes more sharp if we compare ourselves and monkey with a cow. Naturally, we and monkey, we are more common and we have more similarities in comparison to a cow. That means each and every living organism possesses a distinct form and is different from others in terms of certain features that will identify as characters that help that organism to differentiate from others. If we go and visit some places like hills, forest, sea, we may find some entirely different types of animals. What do we call these animals? As flora. Flora and fauna. Okay, animals as fauna and plants as flora. We say there were very different species of different plants and animals I have found there. What are these? These are the different parts of the world. They have different distinct types of organisms. And all these organisms, how do they vary? They vary in shape, they vary in size, they vary in color, in external appearance. Basically, in total, we call them features. And yes, some are colorless too. So it all depends on the variety that we find. The flora and fauna of remote areas, deep forest, high mountain, desert, all is different. And if we include all the living organisms, there are about 92% of them which are still not explored yet. See how rich are we in diversity. Okay. Now, if we have to move to that, how do we classify these organisms? So what is the basis of classification? Then we say organisms may be defined as a system of arrangement. As a system of arrangement of organisms into different groups and subgroups on the basis of similarities, differences, and relationship. These will become the categories for the differentiation. Now, when we started differentiating them, there are various examples and characters, examples of certain characteristics which are used. Now, if we say, let's give it a heading first. Characters used in grouping and subgrouping of organisms. Now, which all characteristics? First of all, if we say cells are prokaryotic or eukaryotic, this is one well-defined characteristic. We say cells either prokaryotic or eukaryotic. Now, organisms are basically grouped into two broad categories on the basis whether they possess a prokaryotic cell or a eukaryotic cell. In case it is a prokaryotic cell, obviously we know the nuclei plus other organelles are not clearly demarcated. Okay, and if we say it's a eukaryotic cell, then it has membrane bound organelles along with a well-developed, well-defined nucleus. Plus membrane bound organelles. So this is the first point that will make us clear which organisms we have to put in this category and which all organisms into this category when we are going to classify them. Alright. Now second, whether the cells occur singly, that means in isolation alone, or in cluster, or they make groups. Now this is a question mark again. How do they occur in nature? So many organisms are unicellular. We know that. That is made up of one cell like amoeba, and others they group together to form a single organism like insects. In case of multicellular, the different organisms, different groups of cells carry out specialized functions. Okay. Now, unicellular like amoeba, it's made up of one cell. And others are multicellular, where cells group together to form a single organism. Children, do not create a mistake here. We are talking about cells here. We are not talking about organisms who occur singly or clusters. Cells which occur in isolation alone, that means only a single celled organism, or multicellular organisms. Alright. Here in multicellular condition, different groups of cells carried out specialized functions. different groups and they carry specialized function. We can take an example of insect body, frog, lizard, we human beings. What happens here? The multicellular condition it creates, it is basically a group of cells which will function together. Now moving to the third. Third one is organism is photosynthetic. Whether it is photosynthetic or take food from outside. So we need to find out the nature of the organism. In that sense, we see all the green plants, they perform photosynthesis, and all the non-green ones and animals, they belong to the second category, that they have specialized organs to absorb food from outside. Green plants, these will perform photosynthesis. Clear? Third category will automatically divide the organisms into these two classes. Moving to the fourth one. Fourth talks about organisms or organization of organisms of different body parts. So let's simplify it. We will write organization of different body parts. See, grouping of organisms may be done on the basis of the body organization. Like, we say plants, they possess stem. What else? Root and leaves. Right? Do the animal possess all these? No, animals do not possess all these. Why? Because they do not require. The grouping or organization of their body is different from plants. Clear? Similarly, animals, they possess specialized organs to perform different functions. Like, we have a digestive system, we have a respiratory system, a proper system which will work for us. We cannot bear stem, roots and leaves because it will not help. Now there are so many other characters which are used for the classification. Like, I'm going to give it another point by writing a star, that other characteristics. In other characteristics, we are going to cover flagella, the presence and absence of flagella, then the type of nutrition. It's not only that all the organisms, they are saprophytic in nature or they are parasitic in nature or they are showing holozoic mode. All the type of organisms, they adapt to 3 different modes of nutrition: holozoic, saprozoic and parasitic, that you will learn in class 10. Then type of pigments present in the cells. Fine. Then cell wall. Sometimes it is present, sometimes not in certain organisms. Then the composition of cell wall for sure. All these factors, they will automatically lead to classify the organisms On the basis of these characteristics, we will group the organisms into different categories. Okay, now what is the importance of this classification? We have done classification, but why is it so important? Okay, let's do it in two lines. Importance of classification. You know, it is very important because it makes the study of wide variety of organisms convenient and easy. You can easily study them when you know whether they are prokaryotic or eukaryotic, whether they eat whether they synthesize their own food or are they heterotrophic in nature. So it is very convenient. Number 2, it is not possible for us to know about all organisms. So what do? We study a few representatives from each taxonomic group and we get a general idea of all life forms, right? Because once we learn about butterflies, we get to know a little about that how these all mosquitoes, these butterflies, moth, how do they behave. So it is the study of a simple representative of each taxonomic group which will help us to study further and get a general idea of their life forms. Clear? Another important point is it will help us to study the interrelationship among different organisms. I promised you 2-3 lines, so I made 2-3 points. Okay, we will not proceed further for the classification, rather we get to know from here only. It makes the study convenient and easy, a very easy point. Getting to know about a few representatives from each taxonomic group will automatically give us a general idea about all the different life forms. And third, we get to know the interrelationship among different organisms. Basically, when we get to know that how classification is important in identifying organisms, we get to a hierarchy. Hierarchy means a system of classification where the closely resemblance of all these organisms, based on that resemblance, they are placed in one category or one group. Okay, and we study them. That is the hierarchy. And this kind of relationship, which is based on large number of characteristics and revolutionary एक reflection आती है उनके evolution की, we call it phylogenetic relationship. I'll write down the definition. What is phylogenetic classification? Phylogenetic classification is that system which is based on large number of characteristics and also reflects their evolutionary relationships. It is called phylogenetic classification, right? A very large number of organisms. Now, in this, we study the hierarchy, HIERARCHY, of classification groups. See, in this classification, organisms that are closely resemble one another, they are placed in one group. And that group, supposingly I'm writing group 1, and all the organisms that are closely resembling to each other, they are placed here. Now, there is group 2 also, group 3 also. All three, they closely resemble to each other in certain characteristics, and they are placed in a wider group. Then group 4, group 5, another wider one, another wider one. They have certain common features and they are placed in this group. So the larger groups are again placed in the still larger groups. And the various group levels or ranks in classification, we call them categories. Alright. And each category has a specific name. Here we are saying group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, group 5, group 6. 1, 2, 3 can equally assemble in 4 because of their similarities. Same way 4, 5 and 6 could be in 7 because of their similarities. But all these are categories. What do we call them? Categories. And these categories have a specific name or a rank. So we are going to study these 7 categories in this hierarchy of classification. Okay, let's begin this hierarchy of classification. So number 1, species. Number 2, genus. Number 3, family. Number 4, order. Number 5, class. Number 6, phylum. Phylum होता है बच्चे animals में, and we call it division in plants. Number 7, kingdom. Okay, these are 7. But when we have to study them on the basis of similarities or the way we say they resemble each other, hierarchy is always studied in this manner. That means the kingdom will be at the top and the species will be at the bottom, because this is the lowermost category. Okay, species is the lowest category. And kingdom is the highest category. Fine. Kingdom is the highest category in biological classification, and this one is the lowest category in the biological classification. So when we study it like this: kingdom, phylum or division, then class, then order, then family, then genus, then species. Now, I'm giving you a simple learning tip to remember all the names. Kingdom is keep. P stands for pots or dustbin, the bin. C stands for clean. Order stands for otherwise. Family will remain family always. get sick. Now let's read. Keep pots clean, otherwise family get sick. Just remember this simple trick to remember kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species in sequence. We cannot break the sequence. We cannot say kingdom, phylum, order, class, family, species, genus. No. We have to read them in order. And when we have to read them in order, we have to learn the trick. Got that? So what are we going to do is, we are going to learn this trick to remember this order. Kingdom, phylum or division, class, order, family, genus, species. Keep pots, dustbin clean, otherwise family get sick. Alright, let's quickly come to the definitions of all these: species, family, all. Now, when we are talking about species we call it as the lowermost or the lowest category. Okay, it is regarded as the basic unit of classification. A question is generally asked: discuss or name the basic unit of classification, and it is species. So species is the basic unit of classification. It is a group of similar individuals. How do we define species? As group of similar individuals which resemble with each other in morphology. Morphology होता है बेटा external characteristics, your appearance. Breed among themselves. These organisms, these breed among themselves. But not with others. And probably descend from a common ancestor. For so many generations, they have the common ancestor. So they breed very well, but they breed themselves. They do not breed outside. Mainly that is done artificially or by certain other procedures if that is to be achieved. But members of a species, they are similar individuals which resemble with each other in morphology. Okay. Then number 2, we move to genus. Genus is group of closely resembling species. Closely resembling species. We are not saying individuals here. We are saying species. Okay, these species having a common ancestry. Okay, now all the species in a genus show similarities in broad features of the organization. What do they show? They show all the species here, they show similarities in broad features of their organization. But different minor details Okay, moving to the third one, it's family. So, all the different genera, which includes all the different species, will fall into this family, right? We say a larger or a large group of closely related genera. If you are giving a close look to what am I writing, you will get to know I'm using this word here. Right? Means genus include all the different species and family includes all the different genera and the group is becoming bigger. Composed of one or more genera, obviously. Now, I'll give an example here. For example, we are talking about the genus Felis. In Felis of cats, right? And the genus Panthera. Panthera tigris for tiger, Panthera Leo for lion, ये lion, tiger और leopard का होता है. Panthera pallidus for leopard. They are placed in the same family. This genera and this genera, they will come under the same family and the name of the family is Felidae. Felidae. Why? Because these animals have a similarity in their claws. They have retractile claws. Retractile claws. So a similarity in their claws have put both the different genera into the same family. Moving to the order. Order. It is a group of closely related families. What? Closely related families. Now, coming to Felidae that we have recently done. That includes cats and the leopard, lion, both. And the family Canidae. This is a cat family and this is a dog family, right? Both are assigned under the same order. Which order? Order is Carnivora. Why? Because they both have large canine teeth. Okay, and they eat flesh. So, they are carnivores and they are under order Carnivora. The next one, class. This was the fourth one. Moving to the fifth one, class. Class, it is a group of related orders. Like if we say mammalia, in mammalia, carnivora comes. Why? Because they are mammals, right? Same way we move to number 6. Phylum or division. Phylum or division. Phylum we know in case of animals and division in case of plants. Here we look for their characteristics like whether they are seed producing or not, whether they have vascular bundles or not. So we divide them into the different divisions. But here in case of animals, right? We say whether they are chordates, they have a vertebral column, they are vertebrates. To which category do they belong? Do they have a vertebral column or they do not have a vertebral column? It is yet not developed. On the basis of that, we divide them into different phylums. Then number 7, the kingdom. Kingdom is the highest category. So, if I say that beautifully all these animals, may it be a cat, may it be a bat, may it be a lizard, they all belong to kingdom Animalia. And if these are all different types of plants, they will belong to kingdom Plantae. And on the basis of this, we have another classification that whether they are only plants, only animals, or do they belong to any other characteristic group. Right? For that, this hierarchy of major categories, these are placed into a kingdom or 2 kingdom classification, 3 kingdom classification, or 5 kingdom classification on the basis of their characteristics. Clear?